The city of Buffalo has some of the greatest fans in the world, and yet some of the most heartbreaking sports teams. But chin up, Buffalo. You got a bright future ahead of you. The Bills look dangerous, and let me tell you about these Buffalo Sabers. They have set themselves up beautifully for the future. With Owen Power and Darlene on their back end, 2 first overall defensemen, ew. And in last year's draft, not drafting 1, not 2, but 3 fantastic center prospects. Taking Savoy, Ostlund, as well as Kulich. They got the whole package in that. And with great wing prospects as well, they have set themselves up fantastically for the future. But here's the thing. Even with Okposo signing a 1-year deal, he's more than likely out after this year. That's why it was only a 1-year deal. And although Jeff Skinner is still signed to 4 more years, and one thing I've always stood by is that skating will transcend age, but the problem is he doesn't really have the frame to keep up with these elevated minutes. My projection is that he drops to the 3rd line in his last couple years due to how good their prospects are and the fact that they've already had a lot of time to develop. And even if somehow they get that massive contract of Skinner's dumped off, which I don't think is very likely, their line depth still fits beautifully, having 8 elite young wingers to jump in and roll lines 1 through 4. And looking like that's going to be the lineup for the future, there's a lot of positives as well as a lot of negatives for that. One negative is that there's going to be a lot of complacency within the lineup. One really good example is Victor Olofsson already. The kid knows he's good, he just doesn't make a push, and it honestly knocks him out of the lineup even though he's a fantastic player. But the issue is they don't really have the depth and prospects to compete with this kid right now. And even for example, a guy like Greenway, who is a fantastic prospect but hasn't really lived up to the hype quite yet. And this can really hurt a team if they roll a lot of money into these guys. Yes, and I know you're saying we could just trade them, but honestly you're not going to get the value that you probably should, because what team is going to knowingly take on that kind of an issue and pay full price for it? So here's my prediction. With the 13th overall pick in this year's NHL draft, the Buffalo Sabres should select Andrew Cristall, standing at 5'10", 165 pounds, playing for the Kelowna Rockets in the WHL. This kid was electric with 39 goals and 56 assists for 95 points in only 54 games. Now those stats are great, and offensively he's one of the best players in this draft. Easily a top winger. But his issue is consistency and effort, and honestly just a willingness to play sometimes. When this kid wants it, he could honestly be a top 5 player in this draft. I'm being so serious. But the issue is he takes too many shifts off, he's not as committed in the defensive zone, and he does have a lot of development to go. And that's why he is perfect for the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres don't need him, but any team could use this kid. This is the kind of kid that's going to get drafted and just expect to be able to play. You put him on a team that has so many great prospects that they're just expected to play and they have a perfect lineup for it, every kid is going to be competing hard for a roster spot, and you are going to be getting the best out of every player. And with a lot of those guys in that projected lineup I just show you having ELCs or lower contracts with low term, they are contractually obligated to have a little bit more time to prove themselves and prove their worth to this team in the NHL over a guy like Cristall. And watching these guys in the NHL work their tails off to keep you in the wings, Cristall is going to start having to take development seriously, which is the perfect situation for him. With a guaranteed few years to develop, he does have time, he can take his time, develop what he has to, and come up very strong. I do think he'll get a spot in this lineup when there's an opening, but I don't think it's as clear cut as he may think. At least not a role that he thinks he's going to be getting. Okay, I gotta start making this quick. Next I have 2 options. One I already explored in the other video for the Vancouver Canucks. Axel Sandin Palika. I think that with Owen Power and Rasmus Dahlin both being left-handed players, they could use a right-handed defenseman with some good push, great offensive ability with great skating, as well as potential to be a very good defenseman as well. That would lock in their core for the future defensively with 3 unbelievable defensemen. But like I went into detail with in the last video, this kid is a real mystery on where he's going to go. With so many teams looking for a player like him, he could honestly go anywhere in the first round, early. And it would not be a bad pick for whatever team takes him, but it's really a mystery because so many teams could fit this guy. But if he's not there, I think they should go with Edward Chalet if they're not going to go with Andrew Cristall. Chalet is an interesting project player for sure. He has all the tools to be an offensive weapon. He has a great shot, crazy good IQ, has a good work ethic, and his timing is impeccable. He needs to get better skating as well as better defensively, and also get some more muscle and be more physical, but this kid is committed to developing himself. He is guaranteed to work harder than anybody else out there if he gets the opportunity to. So I would draft him for the exact reasons I would take Cristall, but there is certainly a lot less offensive and just overall ability shown by Chalet up to this point. That's all I got. Don't forget to subscribe and comment your team because I'm going to do the most requested teams.